We are the children of one planet only. Water Action Campaign with Shan, Fazeli. A public service program from Lotus radio stations. Save water, save your money, save our planet. I'm holding in my hand a glass of water, and if anybody out there listening to this show, and if you have time, you should do the same as well. This water is a luxury item in so many cities and countries around the world. And certainly here in this country is a precious commodity in states such as California, Arizona, and Nevada. Water is not an unlimited resource from Mother Nature. It may be true that 70% of our planet is covered with water, but only 3% is safe for drinking and human consumption. Today, in a lot of places around the world, the people commute few miles every day to get a bucket of drinking water. The same water others carelessly waste when they flush a toilet. Remember, each flush can waste up to 5 gallons of water if we still use a standard, and half of it if we are using the upgraded dual tank system. Over 1 billion people around the world are suffering from lack of access to even a bottle of water, and every day thousands of children, they die for the same water that we waste and simply take it for granted. Water crisis has been the headlines of the TV shows such as CBS's 60 Minutes and prestigious prints like Washington Post and New Yorker. And I'm really excited to see that Lotus radio stations in California, Arizona, Nevada, and other places have taken the leadership step to educate the public and emphasize on the impact of the problem. In case you missed it, 60 Minutes opening 20-minute segment was only about the water shortage in California and Southwest. If you haven't watched it, please watch it. It is an eye-opening report. So somebody may ask why all of a sudden the water has become such an important issue. The answer is very simple. The Earth population has doubled over the last 50 years, and the demand for the fresh water for drinking, producing the foods and fruits, and human consumption has surged along growth of the population. However, the sources of the water, such as rainfall, lakes, and the reservoirs, have not been doubled. So, the question is, where is this extra water coming from? The answer is, it is coming from the groundwater, or it has a fancy name called aquifer or aquifers. The aquifer is underground layer of the water trapped in the rocks of the sand or gravel, and as a result of that one, they dig a hole called well and just dig out all the extra waters from the either 200 feet under the ground or 1,200 feet under. But here's where it gets complicated. The groundwater is like savings accounts and should only be used in an emergency, and we should be able to put it back as soon as the emergency is taken away. Now, wait a minute. We're telling you that we all are flushing our savings accounts and our saving waters down to the toilet, and we don't even bother to think about it? The answer is yes, and there's more to it, and I will explain. Imagine that you wash your dishes and use a sponge. The sponge is holding some water and looks thicker and fresher. Now we squeeze the water out of a sponge and leave the sponge for a few days and see the result. It is dry and certainly smaller and looks like that it has been shrinking. If the earth is the same sponge, then the groundwater is what is holding its vibrant. The more we drill the wells and suck the groundwater out, the more the land will sink. In fact, in some parts of the Central Valley in California, the land has been sinking over a foot each year and up to 6 feet in recent years. Remember, California is deep into the fourth year of the drought, and this past winter has been the hottest and driest ever recorded in the history of California. To respond to such crisis, Orange County Water Department here in California is using the waste and gray water, and after purifying it, will send it back to the nature in form of the groundwater as well as the drinking water. They do it up to 90 million gallons of water every day, which is a great step to protect our groundwater. Other countries, they're doing the same, and also here in San Diego and Seattle, they have similar projects. California's historic drought has also forced Governor Jerry Brown to impose the first ever mandatory water restriction, and the local and state municipalities have adopted restrictions that are in compliance with the new state guidelines. These actions are included to limiting using of the water on certain days, not washing your car in public, and of course, increasing the rate of the water usage if we use excess water. Save the water, save your money. It is that simple. Here's some of the mandatory water restrictions that some city councils they have implemented and approved. They have come up with the residential irrigation system and dividing it to the odd numbers, which is odd addresses, and even addresses. So they say to the people that, okay, if you're living in an odd address, you can irrigate your outside, let's say that Sunday or Thursday, twice a week. But if you're living in the other number, you can do it Monday and Friday. Now, for the commercial part, they come up and say, okay, you can do it as well, but not on the residential days. You can do it maybe Friday and Tuesday. So all of these days, when you're doing the odd days, the other two, they are not doing it. When you're doing the even days, you're not doing the other days. So that will work perfectly with the different residentials and commercial. But that's not the end of it. Here's another issue. You cannot do it during the prime time, which is the time that people either they have a business days or take a shower or what have you. So what they're saying that you can do it from midnight to maybe 6 a.m. in the morning, or from 9 p.m. to midnight, which is basically the low usage of the majority of the people. So that makes sense. The other thing that they're saying is this, that if you have a pool or you have a spa, what you have to do, you have to cover it. If you're going to the hotel or a motel, what you need to do, you have to ask the owner, the housekeeper, to not to change your towel every day. Save some water. You have to tell them not to change your bed every day. Save some water. The restaurants and the owners of the restaurants, as well as the people that they go to the restaurants, they have been told that please provide the water, glass of water, only upon request. Do not do it, but simply bring a glass of water and put it there if the customer doesn't want it. So it's a collective community work together. It's not an individual. Let's say that having a pool is a luxury item. Pool is a luxury good, right? So they're like wasting a lot of water, but people, they want to use it as well. So cover it. And even some of the cities, they have come up with some programs that they do the rebate. If you purchase a cover and cover your pool or spa or what have you. The other thing that the other cities they are suggesting, and I strongly encourage it, is not to use your own pool, but go to the community pool that a lot of places they have, see some friends, see some neighbors, get to know some people, and not to use your own pool. If you can, simply get rid of the water in your pool and use it next year. The best grass is not a green grass anymore. It's a brown grass. So as long as we follow all this protocol, as long as we accept all this protocol, as long as we do it collectively, we probably would have a better and safer community. But the problem hardly is restricted to the West Coast or even the United States of America. Around the world, India is suffering from the water depletion due to the lack of the enough rainfall and also overusage of groundwater. The same scenario applies in North Africa, South Sahara, or Middle East. Researchers and scholars around the world believe that the water shortage will lead to the water crisis and maybe to the water wars. Water is now the new oil. We all need to take action now and before it is too late. We can share this message with our family and friends and certainly bring our communities together. If we do so, we certainly can make a difference. If we don't, we take the risk of heading to a point of no return. Here's some tips to reduce your water consumptions. Close the tap water while brushing your teeth or washing your hands or doing your dishes. Take a shower instead of taking a bath. Take a short shower instead of a long one. Close the tap water while washing your hair or soap up. Upgrade your standard toilet to a dual flush toilet, one for liquid waste, the other for solid waste. Install a low shower head to save more water. Using plants native to California will help you to save a lot of water instead of grass. Such plants like cactus will help you a lot more to save water. Also, when using your car and you're driving to the car washes, make sure that you go to the car wash places with the recycle and green engage system logos. Try to reduce your bill by at least 10 or 15%. Save water, save money. Let me bring Jake Wigner from Central Valley, and we will be talking to him about the water shortage in California. He is a fourth-generation farmer in the area, and I've been talking to him off the air, and he was telling me that he has never seen such a kind of the water crisis in his life. As a matter of fact, he said that he has never seen it even in his dad's life. Hello, Jake.
Hello, how are you guys doing today?
Good. I'm sure that by now everybody knows about the water crisis and water shortage in California and the other neighboring states. But the thing is that for someone like you, just kind of having the firsthand experience with that one, and just kind of your life is dependent on the water, you would be probably the right person to talk to, and you tell us about exactly what is happening, why it's happening. And before you do that, tell us a little bit about yourself. We understand that you and your family, you have been living in the Northern California, Central Valley area for over 100 years.
Yeah, that's correct. My great-grandfather came to Modesto area, bought a farm just outside of Modesto in an area that's called Wood Colony in 1910, and initially had a registered Holstein dairy, and eventually sold the dairy cows and started planting walnut trees. And so we've been farming walnuts ever since. We're primarily walnuts and almonds. We do grow some corn and alfalfa as feed for some local dairies in the area. And we've been in the same place. The house I grew up in, my great-grandfather built in 1912. And so we've been farming in the same area here just outside of Modesto for a little over 100 years. And you're right, this drought is something that really is unprecedented when you go back and look in history. And we've had other droughts, but we haven't seen the effects of a drought like we've seen with this one.
So exactly how, I know that your livelihood is dependent on the water. So does a lot of other people in the area, Fresno, Bakersfield, Modesto, Sacramento. So when the government is going to be advising everyone about conserving the water, that's not a cliche. That's a real serious matter. And for people like you, that you have to have water in your area in order to do the walnut or almond or any other citrus, tomatoes, what have you. Tell us about how important is the water, first of all, for your family, for your community, and for the state of California?
Well, water is the lifeblood for everything. I mean, every living thing depends on water. And in agriculture, what we're doing is growing a bunch of living things. And it takes water to do that in a big way. And the drought really started to hit home April 1st when the governor ordered a 25% cutback in all municipal usage. And I think at the time what people didn't realize was the amount of reductions that agriculture had already faced. This year, we're in the Modesto Irrigation District. A normal allotment during a full wet year from the irrigation district is 42 inches of water per acre. Last year, we were cut to 24 inches, and this year we're cut to 16 inches. So we're looking at over a 60% reduction in the water that's available to us to use on the farm. And it's changed how we manage our way through the year. We tore out 10% of our walnuts because we just didn't have enough water to produce a crop across our entire acreage. And that's not uncommon. When you look at 2014 numbers, because 2015 is not over yet, there was 400,000 acres of farmland that was fallowed throughout the state of California. That equated into 17,000 lost jobs and over $1 billion in lost farm gate value. That doesn't include the economic multiplier. And this year, the drought is worse. So while those numbers are still coming in, I think we could expect that those numbers will probably close to double. We're probably looking at close to 800,000 acres of farmland left out of production this year in California, which again means lost jobs and lost revenues. And the issue is in the Central Valley, our communities are agricultural-based communities. In Stanislaus County, where I'm from, we're the 7th largest agricultural county in the nation. Our county generated about $3.1 billion of economic activity in 2013. 2014 numbers are not quite in yet. And that's almost, our county, as far as farm gate value for agriculture, is almost equal to the state of Alabama.
Wow.
That's how much agriculture production is in our county. And when you look at what that does, not only in the production, but the transportation, the marketing, the processing, and the jobs that it creates, when you start taking that water away, that is the basis of everything. Without the farm product itself, you don't have the need for transportation, you don't have the need for processing, you don't have the need for marketing, and all the other businesses that go along with that. If we're not making as much money, you're not buying enough tractors, so the tractor dealership suffers. So there's everybody, you're not buying as many trucks, so the Chevy or Ford or Dodge dealership might suffer as well. So that dollar that gets rolled around in the community that's generated from that agricultural base, when it's not there, those implications are felt far and wide.
In case you joined us, we're talking to Jake Wigner, and he's a fourth-generation walnut and almond farmer. His great-grandfather moved to the area over 100 years ago, and he has been following the footsteps of his family over the last 100 years. He is not 100 years old. He's very much younger, and but he's suffering, along with the other farmers in the area, from the lack of water. That is why we advise and we ask everyone in every house, in every community, in the metropolitan areas to save water, to conserve water, because this is a collective effort. This is something that all the different magazine, media, newspaper, radio, all over the country, they're talking about it. From Washington Post to New Yorker, from CBS's 60 Minutes, all other media and prints, they're talking about it. Here at Lotus Corporation, we are taking the leadership steps in California, in Nevada, in Arizona, through our stations to make sure that we support people like Jake and his family and his business by saving and conserving water. And Jake, tell us about how we can help living in the metropolitan areas to save water, to conserve more, and to consume less, so that we can help people like you in Central Valley, because otherwise you're going to be digging the hole in the ground and getting the water more and more from the groundwater, or which I call under the groundwater, start from the 20 feet to go to the 200 feet, now maybe going to the 1,200 feet in order to get the water out. Is that true?
Yeah, depending on where you're at in the valley. There's parts of the valley that have been much more dependent on groundwater than others. The area we're in an area that is not in concern of overdrafting the groundwater. Our water table is at about 24 feet. So when you gave that range, we're on the very, very high end of that range. And the reason for that has been we've always had very good access to surface water, the water that's in our reservoir. And we've always looked at groundwater as an emergency source. That's our backup. When the reservoirs are out, then we look to the groundwater as a reserve source. And there's parts of the state that have really looked at groundwater as its primary source of water, and that's when you really start getting into concerns of overdraft. And so our area, you're right, we're putting in more wells, but our system was really designed for that. I like to say that we are managing our groundwater the way it's supposed to be managed. In wet years, nobody uses wells. We have enough water coming out of the reservoir to be sufficient for everybody to grow a crop. It gives a chance for that groundwater to recharge. But in years like this, we're going to tap that resource because we need to be able to have some sort of access. But it comes at a pretty high cost. And I think that's maybe lost sometimes in the municipal sense. And I thank you guys for your efforts to try and bring awareness to this drought. And like I said, April 1st, when the governor made that mandate, it really became real. This drought became real for a lot of people in town who maybe hadn't seen the effects of it yet. And when you had the state of California or your local cities telling you, we're going to start limiting the amount of days you can water your lawn, that was a wake-up call to a lot of people that this drought is much more severe than maybe we anticipated. And there was a lot of backlash from that. There was a lot of people in town who said, this isn't fair, we should do more to agriculture, farmers should reduce more. And I don't think they realized the amount that farmers have already done. As I said, our water was reduced over 60% this year. So a 25% reduction would be welcome, because a 25% reduction should mean I'd be getting water back. We were cut 60%. We've torn out 10% of our walnut orchards that we will not produce a crop on until we know we have water sufficient to produce a crop. And you have people in town who are upset that they can only water their lawns 2 days a week. And I understand that people have an investment in their yards. And there's a lot of time and energy and effort and money that goes into having a beautiful yard. But at the end of the day, when the drought gets this severe, we have to start making some very, very difficult choices. We have to prioritize water use. And when it comes down to our basic needs for human consumption, we need enough water to be able to drink and wash our food and wash ourselves so we have proper hygiene at home. And we need enough water to produce food. And those are really our two basic essentials as human beings. We need water for our own personal use, and we need food to eat. And it takes water to grow food. And so while this drought is affecting everybody, we have to remember that our agricultural entity is vital to the state of California. It likes to get brought up that, well, agriculture is only 2.1% of our state GDP. Well, that's true, but it loses sight of the fact that California, depending on the year, is the 6th or 7th largest agricultural economy in the world. So while it may only be 2.1% of our state GDP, there is only 5 or 6 nations in the globe who have a larger agriculture industry than the state of California. We do more than most countries. And so 2.1% can be used to twist the equation to make it not seem like much. But what we do in California and our agricultural economy has global implications in the global food supply.
The same mandate that you talked about from the governor of the state of California, here at the Lotus radio stations, we have the mandate to educate, if not inform, all the listeners in the state of California, Nevada, Arizona, and the management has over 37 radio stations, and they all can hear you now. So our 2 questions, and we're kind of running out of time, and I wish to invite you next time that we talk about it more. But I'm assuming that the number one, the prices eventually in the state of California will go higher and higher and up as far as the agriculture is concerned. And also, are you thinking or advising our neighbor states that be careful that they're not going to be having the same serious matter that we have right now with respect to the drought? Because Arizona and Nevada, they may be the next in line if we don't change our habits with respect to the conservation of the water?
Well, the water is one thing that's out of our control. And we can put in reservoirs, we can put in storage to try and capture what Mother Nature provides, but we're still at the mercy of Mother Nature to provide it. And that's the situation we're in. We haven't planned and we haven't had the capacity to save enough water when it was wet to get us through these times now when it's dry. And so I think that is something for other states to be aware of, is nothing is ever given. And a lot of times we can take things for granted that it's always been there, but it may not always be there. And so we do have to conserve. And I think in other states, the other thing that we need to look for going into the end of this year and really into next year is where we start seeing the effects of this drought, is we could see food prices on the rise, because every farmer in my area is removing acreage from production because there isn't enough water to go around. So every farmer is tearing out 10 acres here, 70 acres there, 100 acres here, 50 acres over here. And that adds up statewide. And that's production that was used before. That was acreage before that was used to grow food. And if it's not growing food now, then that means there's not going to be as much available, which means the prices will go up. When you look at the supply and demand curves, that's just the effect of our lower supply. And so it is something that we all need to be aware of. We all need to be conscious and do our part to conserve. If it means cutting back the watering on your lawn to 1 or 2 days a week, if it means managing your showers better and shutting off the water when you brush your teeth, it's little things like that that add up. When you look at our statewide average water usage, is about 120 to 150 gallons per person per day. I don't think people realize the amount of water that we use as individuals. And now a lot of that is for our landscaping. We don't consume that. We're not putting that down the drains in our toilet or in our bathtub. But it's the amount of water that we use as human beings. And if we can get that number down, it's going to benefit everybody in this for the long term.
Exactly what we have been saying all over all the time. And I'm so happy that we hear it from you as a person that the livelihood of you, your family, your business is kind of dependent on the water. I appreciate your time. We have been talking to Jake Winger, and he is a 4th generation farmer in Central Valley, and I hope to talk to him more. Thank you so much, Jake, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
We are the children of one planet only. Water Action Campaign with Shan Fazeli, a public service program from Lotus radio stations. Save water, save your money, save our planet. California enters the 4th year of one of the most severe drought period in the state's history. Calendar 2014 shows the hottest year on the record, and the 2013 was the driest. More than 27 million in California and millions in Southwest are suffering from the extreme and exceptional drought. Help the Californian and the neighboring states to conserve water and to save water. Together, we can make it happen and help the farmers as well as the municipalities.